By the way, Niner 570 game. That's what we're calling it now Sunday, because we're going to be live and local all day long for Championship Sunday. Mark Grandy, Sterling Bennett from 9 to 1, leading into the kickoff show with Larry and Low Neal at the Santa Clara Hilton, presented by Havis Law. You've been wronged. Havis Law will fight to make it right. Call 1-800-INJURED or visit HavisLaw.com. Top 5 moments in championship history, in my opinion, with the Niners now on Twitter. Shasky, we're getting closer and closer here. What are some of the things you're looking at in this football game? What are some of the things that's got you bugging out or saying this can't happen? The Niners want to win this football game.
Well, you know, the number one thing is that when opportunities present themselves, you have to make the most of them. There was a couple of throws early in that game for the Detroit Buccaneers matchup where Goff threw a couple up, particularly on that first drive, and the Bucs didn't capitalize on it.
Dropped that interception in the red zone, yeah.
Absolutely. You know, those are what changes games. I mean, just go back to that Baltimore game with the Niners. If they don't turn it over on that first possession, that entire game plays out differently.
Yep.
Right? And so I'm looking at it this way. The 49ers, when the ball is thrown right in their hands, need to make plays. And also, they need to win individual matchups. And if that means Ambry Thomas is out there on an island by himself, don't just grab a guy, you know? Turn around, locate the ball, and make a play. Make a guy beat you. Let him high point the ball. Don't just give them a free 40 yards. I look at Nick Bosa. Nick, you got to win some matchups.
Yeah.
Like you just do. When you see the chip coming, blast that guy. When you see somebody coming to set the edge, whether it be a tight end or whatever, take that dude out. Javon Hargrave, there are no excuses. I gave you $40 million in guaranteed. You want to become a 49er legend? Well, all the 49er legends who signed here to win championships showed up in the biggest moments in the playoffs. And that's what I need this guy to do. Eric Armstead, you are the longest tenured 49er. Now, I know your foot hurts, and I get it. But if their guard and their center are out, and I don't hear your name, and I don't see impact, this might be your final season in San Francisco. Ooh. I cannot invest $40 million in 2 D tackles and get zero production in the biggest moments of the year. So we could talk about DC all we want. We could talk about scheme and Kyle Shanahan's play calls. We could bitch and complain about the quarterback till we're blue in the face, and he needs to play better too. It's undeniable. But my guys who are making premium money, Bosa, Hargrave, Armstead, they need to show up and win these individual matchups.
Shanahan on that Lions offense and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Here's Kyle Shanahan.
He's a really good football player, and they get him the ball in a number of different ways. So there's no way to just cover a guy. You don't just say cover him in man, cover him in zone. It's about defending the team and the scheme. And when you do that, you usually make it harder for a good player too. And if you don't, their scheme gets going. They run the ball well. They throw the ball, whatever it is, and you're just trying to defend both. And then you're going to get a guy like that good looks. And when you get a guy like that good looks, it's similar to when you get guys like that we have good looks. It's not easy to stop him.
Here's Shanahan on Jared Goff.
I think he's showing some of the stuff that he did in L.A. I mean, you go with Jared, I mean, he built for a number of years, especially, I think 17, 18, really 18. I mean, he played at MVP type level. When they give him a good scheme, when he's got good people around him, Jared's going to always find the spot. He's as accurate as any quarterback I've seen. He can play at a very top level. If you sit and make things easy for him, he will gas you. I've seen it over and over, whether it's with the Rams, whether it's with Detroit, and that's why you challenge it. You better be on your stuff or he can embarrass you fast. I mean, he played at MVP type level. Give him a good scheme, when he's got good people around him, he's going to always find the spot. He's as accurate as any quarterback I've seen. He can play at a very top level. If you sit and make things easy for him, he will gas you. I've seen it over and over. That's why you challenge it. You better be on your stuff or he can embarrass you fast.
And he can embarrass you. And they've been embarrassing teams all season long. And really, it started last year with Detroit when they got on a heater there, and they won some big-time road games for that organization. Remember, they ended the season on Sunday Night Football beating the Green Bay Packers, and the Packers, of course, were playing for a spot in the playoffs. Winner go home. Well, it turned out to be Aaron Rodgers' last game in a Green Bay Packer uniform. So they've got this momentum. They play. Think about the road wins Detroit has had. So you don't want to get them into a rhythm, right, Shasky? They go to Green Bay, they beat them. They beat the Jets on the road last year. And you just think about what they've done this season. Opening the season, I know Chris Jones was in his suite and Travis Kelce didn't play, but going to Arrowhead Stadium and facing Mahomes and beating them.
One of the best wins of any team this year.
Right.
It's on a short list.
It's on a short list. You beat them in Kansas City. You beat the Packers on Thursday Night Football, really dominated them at Lambeau Field. You go down to Tampa and win a football game. Now, they got blown out and blasted by Baltimore. That's one anomaly. But they go down to SoFi, beat the Chargers. They win in the Superdome against the Saints, get a big lead, and hold off for dear life. So they've won some big-time road games for that organization. So how do you make it uncomfortable for them? You just mentioned it. It's all about that front four getting pressure. It starts with them, and I believe with their guard and center out, we'll talk to Lomas Brown at 9:20, the color commentator for the Detroit Lions, longtime NFL player at right tackle, left tackle, you name it. He'll break down what's the weakness of that offensive line this week, and Niners are going to have to even send some blitzes. If you need to send a Fred Warner or Drake Greenlaw blitz up the A-gap into the interior, get Jared Goff moving around, because then he's got to reset his feet. It takes him a while for that. That's how you beat this team and get Jared Goff uncomfortable.
You know, I've been thinking a lot about just these coaches and these openings that are out there. And Ben Johnson is the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, and he's highly coveted by a lot of teams right now. I think, you know, Seattle feels like they're going to go Dan Quinn direction. I would worry, and I would want no part of Dan Quinn.
I think they're waiting. I think Seattle's waiting for championship weekend to be over.
Okay.
They want to see what's going on with McDaniel, with Baltimore, the defensive coordinator, or Ben Johnson, as you just mentioned, offensive coordinator with the Lions.
Well, if I'm Ben Johnson, I think that's an enticing place. I get to pick my quarterback, and I have a lot of offensive weaponry, and I think that there are pieces on defense that are intriguing, and Schneider's a great GM. The point that I was going at with Ben Johnson, when you win a game on the road without your guard and without your center, as good as these two are, people take notice of that. That's when you're a premium guy. Part of what makes Shanahan, no one had ever heard of Jake Brendel till a couple years ago. I had never heard of him. Had you?
No.
All right. He's done a great job there. Feliciano, anyone could have had Feliciano.
Burford.
Even Banks didn't play his first year.
Right.
You know, so the great offensive coordinators know how to minimize the weaknesses of an offensive line through play calling, deception, motion, etc. So I am very interested to see what they have in store. If they know they're down a couple guys, how do they disguise that? How do they try to mask that? You know, do they keep LaPorta in a little more? This is why I keep coming back to you. You have to win the individual matchups up front in the middle of this defensive line.
I agree there.